Sitar is a plucked stringed instrument used in Pakistani classical music.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. We'll be talking about Wendy Sherman's visit to Pakistan, of course, after she went to India, the fact that America stressed on, she herself also talked about counter-terrorism. She talked about the fact that as far as America was concerned, the bilateral relationship, the importance of it, she stressed on the efforts Pakistan can make potentially as far as counter-terrorism is concerned, that being the main concern as far as the US was concerned. We'll be talking about that. We'll also be talking about her interaction with various officials while she was here, what it means for the future of bilateral relations as far as Pakistan and America are concerned. What can we expect in the future? Will we have more visits? Will the interaction between Pakistan and US increase in the sense, and as far as our past is concerned, our history is concerned, what does the US expect from Pakistan as far as Afghanistan is concerned, as far as the region is concerned, as far as our efforts in trying to ensure peace in Afghanistan is concerned? All of that today on Perspective. I have with me Barrister Muhammad Ali Saif, who's a senior analyst. Thank you for being with us. Lieutenant General retired Naeem Khalid Lodi, who's a former national security advisor. Thank you for joining us today. Asif Durrani, who's a former ambassador. Thank you for being with us. Barrister Saif, let's start off with you as far as the situation, before we go on and talk in detail about the relationship between US and this particular visit and how important it has been. Let's go and listen to a package that our team has prepared about her visit here.
United States Deputy Secretary of State Wendy R. Sherman is on an official visit to Pakistan and has held several meetings with the Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi, National Security Advisor Mueed Yusuf, and the Chief of Army Staff General Qamar Javed Bajwa. Pakistan has sent a crystal clear message to the United States that it was committed to forging a broad-based, long-term and sustainable relationship anchored in economic cooperation, regional connectivity and peace in the region. Afghanistan was only one issue among several in their bilateral relations, and the key was in holding regular and structured dialogue process between them, which in turn was vital for promoting common interests and advancing shared regional objectives. The United States Deputy Secretary of State emphasized the importance of long-standing relationship between Pakistan and the United States and agreed to continue close communication and coordination on the situation in Afghanistan, security and counterterrorism, trade and investment, climate change, economic cooperation and regional connectivity.
You know, the interesting part of all of this is that the United States and Pakistan have had a long-standing relationship for decades. So the purpose of this particular trip was around the issues predominantly of the aftermath of Afghanistan. So that's what I meant about specific steps. And it was also, of course, to review where we are in our bilateral relationship and where we can work together to improve many things, not only in our bilateral relationship, but in the world together. But I think, as you pointed out, this is a time of great change in the region because of events in Afghanistan. And so I think we are all reassessing what is going to happen, how we all should respond, what the future will look like, and how to ensure that no country is a safe haven for terrorists, that the people of Afghanistan have a good future ahead of them.
Right, Barrister Saif, as far as Wendy is concerned, she said a lot of things. She said that it's basically the focal point of her agenda as far as this visit was Afghanistan. She also said, if you've just recently heard the comments that she made, she talked about reassessing with regard to the prevalent situation at this time. How do you see her visit? How do you see what it means or what it can mean for Pakistan potentially?
Well, I believe that in the post-Taliban takeover scenario in Afghanistan, which unfolded last month, there was quite a significant level of I would say talk or in a way confusion as well, as if the relationships have gone down the drain between United States and Pakistan on the issue of Taliban takeover. But I believe that Wendy's visit is the beginning of probably I hope a new bilateral relationship, a new phase of bilateral relationship between both the countries, because so far there was no talk, there was no direct interaction between government of Pakistan and the government of United States in the post-takeover scenario. But I believe, and I'm quite positive that the broad range of common issues that exist between Pakistan and United States, especially as outlined in your report, that it is not just Afghanistan, it is also bilateral trade, bilateral security issues, counter-terrorism, and a broad range of issues. So I think that we cannot, imagine a situation where the United States will completely ignore Pakistan and will kind of truncate or terminate its relationships with Pakistan. It's something which is unimaginable, and I'm sure that this is the first step in that direction, and I'm hopeful that.
Let me come back to you. I'm going to go to Lieutenant General Naeem Khalid Lodi. As far as the situation at this time is concerned, certainly, on the one hand, of course, we can say that it's unimaginable for us to expect that America would ignore Pakistan. But in terms of our past relationship, of course, it's not without challenges as far as the U.S. is concerned. And, we've seen that comment about Afghanistan, which was then later clarified also. But do you think primarily the interest as far as the U.S. is concerned at this time in the region, in Pakistan, has to do only and only with Afghanistan?
I think if we say that it is China and not Afghanistan, Afghanistan is just a factor. I was just talking to Ambassador Saab also before having the chat. So we have to see the whole thing in the context that today there was a talk between Afghan Taliban and Americans in Doha. Then she gave a statement in India, which was not very welcome as far as we are concerned. But then she came here and she also clarified what she meant. I think we cannot compromise on four things. One is our relationship with China. Second is peace in Afghanistan. Then is our CPAC and BRI, we can say. And then the last is Kashmir. I mean, I have not set them in any priority. So as long as we can look after these four interests, there's a large field available as far as past U.S. relations are concerned. And if I collect all these things, the talks in Doha, she going to India and whatever she said and whatever she said in interview with you. Over here with PTV, I think it makes sense that their enduring interest in this region are still there, and we always said that they would be there. That is influence of China, the Russian, access to warm waters, CPAC, BRI, and maybe certain other smaller issues. So the larger issue is China and Russia and CPAC and BRI. So I think they are coming. They must have they've changed their posture. They have gone militarily, but they want to stay here politically and economically. Probably they will not leave this field open for China and Russia.
You're saying that I'm going to go to Durrani Saab with this. I'll come back to you. Durrani Saab, General Saab is saying that there is. They've left, but they want to keep, of course, an eye on their interests, and of course, with relevance to China, with relevance to Russia. But overall, isn't this sort of the crux of it, that they have left, but they feel the only way to keep an eye on this region, to make sure that they have access to it, is through Pakistan, and therefore Pakistan remains important.
Well, Pakistan's geography remains important, and now United States is looking for cheaper options since they are out of Afghanistan. They were spending $45 to $50 billion per annum in Afghanistan. Now, after pulling out, they have saved that to a greater extent. And now the cheaper option I use is that then they want some foothold here in Pakistan, because other bases which they are expecting, say in Uzbekistan, are unlikely to come. Same is the case with Tajikistan. So if that's the case, it is the United States would be pressurizing Pakistan, and I don't buy that. She did explain her position yesterday with PTV. If you look at her Twitter, it is quite clear. Don't focus on Afghanistan, and that was which she explained in her interaction at I think that we should look at how the Americans are now thinking. For them,
how do you can you please clarify that when you say that she didn't really explain her position, and of course she stands at what she had said. What do you think she meant exactly?
Well, she meant Afghanistan. She didn't mean about having a broader relationship with Pakistan. They can use those words. I can use those words about broader relationship. But you have to have specific relationships. With India, they have strategic partnerships which specify what areas they are going to cooperate. So they have not chosen those specific areas with which they are going to discuss with Pakistan, while those issues are already on table for the past 2 decades. And Americans are not going around to those ideas. And more importantly, as rightly pointed out by General Saab, it's the China factor now, and for them, they keeping China at bay, and through the Indian assistance, they want their say. And I don't think that for them, Afghanistan's importance is it would be there, but Afghanistan would not figure so prominently as far as their future policies are concerned. That would be focused on China. Yes.
Right. Bassisab, do you agree? You think that it's really primarily the focus is China, of course, whatever they may say as far as Afghanistan is concerned. But in terms of, the old mantra as far as the US is concerned of do more, we've, had the changing domestic situation as far as the US is concerned. We've seen there is, of course, the lack of popularity as far as the Biden administration with regard to Afghanistan, and therefore scapegoating Pakistan, all of that in that scenario, in that kind of background, how do you see things?
Well, I definitely believe that China is an important factor. It's a regional issue for us, and it's an international issue for the United States. And the United States' interest in the whole Asia-Pacific region is focused on China and China's maneuvers and policies in this region. And Pakistan being a close ally of China, of course, Pakistan bilateral relationship with the United States is in some way affected by or in a way influenced by our relationship with China. So the United States cannot ignore China completely, and nor can it ignore Pakistan because of its nexus with China, number one. But Afghanistan, in my opinion, Afghanistan is not an issue or a subject that the United States has totally forgotten or would like to forget, because whatever it may be, they have left Afghanistan for good, but their military has left, not their political and geostrategic interests. They are still there because Afghanistan is an important stakeholder, and whatever transpires in Afghanistan as a result of Taliban takeover in future will definitely have an impact on United States policies and its strategy in this region.
When she talked about we've had this conversation with General Saab and Asif Durrani Saab, who says that he doesn't really think she explained herself, whatever words she may have used. But when she says that she doesn't want a broad-based relationship with Pakistan, or America doesn't want a broad-based relationship with Pakistan, what is the US trying to communicate, as opposed to a specific and narrow purpose of the talks on Afghanistan?
Well, I believe
are they just trying to put us in our place? Are they just trying to say, well, what for us, of course, Afghanistan is the main focus? What are they trying to say, really, in your opinion?
Well, I can only, have a guesswork at it, and that is that first of all, they are probably she probably wanted to convey to Pakistan that Pakistan is not a priority for them as such. Pakistan is just a matter of they have a just matter of focus on Pakistan in the context of China relationship between Pakistan and China and Afghan issue. Whereas insofar as India is concerned, as both the gentlemen have pointed out, their priority is India in this region. They have a strategic partnership with it, and also India would, in their context, India would play, or they see India to play a very important role in their overall Asia-Pacific region, whatever games designs they have. So my understanding is that Kashmir and Pakistan's stance on Kashmir, as General Saab pointed out, and our issues in the region, probably they do not want to give us that importance, and they have made it clear. And also, she being the Deputy Foreign Secretary of United States is a comparatively junior level official.
Right, I want to talk about that. Let me come back to you. General Saab, what Saab was saying, I think, I wanted to come to that. As far as, the tier of leadership is concerned, if we look at Wendy Sherman, she's, quite as far as, she's third or fourth, if I'm not wrong. For her to make this trip, for her to come come to India and then Pakistan, is it a way of saying that the priority, as far as the US is concerned, it's telling us that where they prioritize Pakistan, where they see us, the importance as well. I don't want to, talk about all the negatives primarily, but we have to look at things realistically. Do you agree?
First of all, she's not third and fourth tier, she's tier number 2. Rather, I would say 1.5, because she's supposed to assist Secretary of Foreign Affairs, they call Secretary of State. And the other tiers are assistant, Secretary of State and Deputy Assistant. So they are third and fourth tier. He is just next to Secretary of State. And if you look at her mandate, at times she represents Secretary of State in a way that wherever there's some difficulty. That is how it is written. So I think that way it was not a very low profile visit.
Okay.
It was she came with a delegation also. But still I would say that best would have been that beyond Foreign Minister nobody else should have met her. And if I had a say. But
the Prime Minister didn't meet her.
No, yes, Prime Minister didn't meet, but Chief of Army Staff did meet. So I thought that it was enough if Foreign Minister would have met, and then the delegation level talks were all right.
Okay.
But beyond that, probably we were. So I think all said and done, in my opinion, and I do not insist on that. Now the sticks which they were using to make us do more, or to goad us in the direction they wanted. The IMF, the FATF, and World Bank and others, they will all be now used as carrots, because this time the prerogative is not with them altogether. We also have some leverage. So they are looking for coming back in Pakistan with a new face, with investment proposals, with some other, maybe help to
So you expect this visit to proceed by, a lot more delegations, a lot more visits, like you're saying, dangling more carrots as far as, as far as investment is concerned, as far as, to further, of course, to, perhaps for us, our economic situation is primarily important at this time.
I think that is what is going to happen. This was just an icebreaker, and the follow-up will come. The follow-up will be required. Maybe they invite us, or they come with more delegations. And I think China has also not asked us. Never, Ambassador Saab can put us right, to have a strained relation with Americans. They have never said that. Please, if you want to friendly with us, don't be friendly with them. But at the same time, we understand that Chinese are very subtle in their, diplomacy. They may not say certain things, but they mean it. So, any compromise on CPAC, BRI, and Pak-China relations, I think that is going to be the bedrock interest as far as Pakistan is concerned. And keeping that in mind, if we can have some give and take there's no harm in that.
Ji, Durrani Sahab, do you
the thing
agree?
is in the flux.
Yes, I do agree. Reason is that now if you are looking from Afghanistan's perspective, so there is a consensus amongst the immediate neighbors of Afghanistan for peace and stability in Afghanistan. And then in Tajikistan, the summit, it decided, I mean, of course, not officially, but Prime Minister had said it in so many words in his interview with the BBC that the immediate neighbors of Afghanistan, they will unanimously decide about recognition of Afghan regime. So
as far as Afghanistan is concerned, as far as Afghan refugees are concerned, as far as Afghan humanitarian crisis is concerned, we've seen, the Prime Minister say again and again that as far as the world is concerned, there has to be an inclusive approach, there has to be humanitarian assistance from across the board, all over the world. The nations, even America, they can't just leave the way that they have without providing the kind of requisite humanitarian assistance that Afghanistan will need, to get back on its feet if they can, before we start expecting them to have the kind of, human rights, to have the kind of human rights that one would like with respect to women, with respect to children, all of that. Do you think America will be able to do that, even if we don't talk about recognition at this time?
If you let me finish about the regional approach which Pakistan has adopted, and in that respect, United States feels isolated. Let me repeat the word: United States feels isolated as far as Afghanistan is concerned.
Okay.
And the only window which is available to the United States is through Pakistan. And if you to the Chinese issue, then China would not want any camp to be established. It is the United States which has been involved in making alliances. It is the United States which has gone for Indo-Pacific Alliance, it is the United States which has gone for the Quad, and it is the United States which has now created AUKUS. Now AUKUS is the white man's alliance. In fact, these are the ex-colonialists who are now, they will be calling the shots. So what I'm trying to say is that as far as humanitarian assistance in Afghanistan is concerned, immediate neighbors of Afghanistan, they are already doing their bit. But it is up to the United States and other international communities, especially the West, who have been pleading the human rights cause for Afghanistan. So they have to come forward, and it is only a matter of days, not weeks even, that this disaster is going to befall on this poor land in Afghanistan. So it is the United States, they don't have to play with the gallery, they have to now walk the talk. And what is happening in Doha with the Taliban, and they say that they are very concerned about Al-Qaeda and Daesh and all that, and they want to involve themselves in Afghanistan. So I think Taliban have given them a message that it is our job, it is our country, and we'll look after and not allow any to use Afghanistan soil against any other country. So I think now lines are being drawn, and the United States has felt it very clearly that as far as Afghanistan is concerned, their options are limited, and their options are to the extent that they have to engage those people who are now ruling the country, and they have in fact come forward for the humanitarian assistance of that country, which they have been claiming for. So this is what I want to say.
Okay, right. Let me come back to you. Ji, do you agree? You think that America is going to have to put itself forward the way that Asif Durrani Sahab is saying, and that they will have to do it in the next couple of months if they want the situation to stabilize as far as Afghanistan is concerned?
Yes, well, insofar as Afghanistan is concerned, you see, Afghanistan is the key for stability in this region, and the reason being that we are still not sure whether Afghanistan will remain stabilized or not, because I mean,
because the
we
city
still
do not have any means. They
do not
nothing.
have financial means. They do not have even administration is in like disarray, and terrorist groups are now, you know, organizing attack and staging like what happened in Kunduz yesterday. I mean, these kind of things needs to be challenged and controlled by Taliban. But so far, my concern is that until and unless we have complete stability in Afghanistan, the region will still remain in turmoil, and there will be concerns. The United States will have its concerns, and Pakistan will also have its concerns, and similarly other regional powers.
So how does the U.S. ally those concerns?
Well, the U.S. to be honest, U.S. is the prime reason for all these problems in this region, because of its 20-year stay in this region. Through
and the way they left and all of that.
And then, yes, the manner they left, and they, you know, abandoned Afghanistan in a way. So, of course, all these problems are, I mean, the genesis of these problems is that decision, or the way that Afghanistan was controlled by them. But now U.S. must not abandon Afghanistan or this region, and must prioritize peace in this region rather than their own geostrategic designs. That's my concern. Prioritizing peace would require them to engage with Afghanistan.
Do you see the U.S. doing that? Because I mean, if you look back at the history and the way that things have turned out as far as Pakistan, U.S. is concerned, any other nation, all over the world, and U.S. is concerned, there's always been, of course, and of course, in international politics, the prime interest, the prime focus, of course, remains a nation's own interest.
Absolutely, and I agree with you that United States will prioritize its own interest, and its policies vis-a-vis the region. Our region will be determined and will be kind of influenced by its own domestic situation.
Right.
The way the government or the administration will play to its own, vote bank in United States. So, as far as I'm concerned, I believe that United States is still kind of probing or considering its options in the region, and that is why this Wendy Sherman visited Pakistan. I think it's just like testing the ground for future interaction. But there is no doubt in my mind that until and unless United States gets involved in the stability of Afghanistan through financial means, as well as let Taliban stand on their own 2 feet and manage the situation.
Help them do it.
Yes, kind of help. May not be direct help, but through Pakistan or through this region. But if the United States is still pursuing those policies in an antagonistic manner, pitching Pakistan against India, or prioritizing India or Pakistan issues, and then blaming continuously Afghanistan for not doing this and that would kind of create I mean, I'm not saying that it would lead to instability, but it will cause a lot of ill will among the stakeholders in this region, and that would not be beneficial for any of the powers.
Right, very well articulated. I'll go to General Sabji. General Sab, do you agree? You think that, like Vasif is saying, as far as considering its options is concerned, as far as testing its waters, testing the ground, whatever you may call it, as far as America is concerned, do you think that maybe that is perhaps corroborated by the statement and the fact that it was kind of backtracked, but not really backtracked as far as Wendy Sherman is concerned? When she said, we're going to interpret it narrowly, then she said, well, that means that I was only talking about a broad-based relationship, and she was talking about a specific and narrow purpose as far as talks on Afghanistan is concerned. The clarification that followed, but did not really follow. Do you think that perhaps it is true that America at this time is testing its waters, what their options are, how they can, what kind of relationship they can have with Pakistan at this time, how much they need to extend themselves, and how will Pakistan react? Considering at this time, of course, we haven't, there has been all of that talk about Joe Biden not calling the Prime Minister. She also hinted that call may follow soon. All of that, in that background, do you think it's because they're just trying to see how they're going to go about it, what they're going to do, how far they're going to extend themselves?
I still believe in that. That America, they never wanted peace in Afghanistan. They never worked for peace in Afghanistan, not so far. They wanted turmoil, a controlled turmoil. and for the reasons which I've already said, because this was the best suiting them as far as their objectives are concerned, which I've already enumerated. But now once they have gone and the things are not in their control, they still want to pursue the same objectives, and for that the environment has changed. For that they can also change their strategy, and they may come with a different face altogether with the same objectives. So I cannot say whether they want peace in Afghanistan or they don't want peace in Afghanistan, but they would definitely like to now compete with Russia and China in this region through other means, and those means are economic means and political means, and some other factors also. So yes, they are not only testing waters; they are actually trying to reorientate their strategy altogether. For that, they need a base. Although they have a very close understanding with India, but unfortunately, India doesn't have a direct access to Afghanistan. Although they do claim that they have, they are neighbors of Afghanistan because of that small corridor which is there, because they think Kashmir is there, and the matter of fact it is not like that. So I think all that is done.
Let me come back to you. Durrani sir, as far as realigning themselves is concerned, as far as American interest is concerned, we've been talking about that. Do you think that it also, when we talk about economic means, whether they want to deal with Russia, China through economic means, and we talked about how we can perhaps maybe expect economic assistance or, as far as Pakistan is concerned, of course, assistance vis-a-vis monetary assistance, whatever you may call it at this time from the U.S. At the behest IMF or however America, the institutions that America does control.
Well, they have the influence, and IMF and World Bank, they do. But if you look at U.S.-Pakistan history, then either we were their allies or we were the most sanctioned ally. So there was not any middle of the road approach by the United States. So if they apply sanctions on Pakistan, so those won't be a new phenomenon for Pakistan. They are accustomed to that kind of treatment. And in fact, they put sanctions during 65 wars and 71 war. And then in 74, when India conducted nuclear explosions first time, they imposed sanctions on Pakistan. So, and then when in 98 India declared itself as nuclear power, the UN Security Council did not move till the time Pakistan conducted its explosions. So they were waiting to do that. So in here there is a history. So in that respect, and then Soviet troops left Afghanistan immediately the next year, they imposed sanctions on Pakistan. And now that they have left Afghanistan, they have the Republican Party, 22 senators have presented a bill in the Congress that also includes Section 202, includes a provision of submitting a report to the Congress, state that what is the role of non-state and state actors, including the government of Pakistan. So these are, in a way, precursors. These are you can say, those ingredients of that bill, which we should raise enough alarms in Pakistan. That's what they are going, and how they are thinking, and what is going to be the future course of action the United States is going to adopt. So they want to have a sort of a sword of Damocles hanging on our heads. We should be prepared for the worst. At the same time, we should focus on peace and stability in Afghanistan. If our region, and especially Afghanistan, is at peace, it means our western border would be secure. If our western border is secure, then India cannot do definition. And that it is, in fact, India would be checkmated. If India is checkmated on one front, but if India continues with its intelligence, then India would be opening two fronts, which already it has opened with China and Pakistan. So I think the Indians, they would be in fact, concerned about how the situation in Afghanistan was. And the United States actually, if I can put it in a light tone, in fact, if the United States became a collateral damage during India and Pakistan's competition in Afghanistan. So I think now the United States, they have withdrawn. So they should, in fact, now they have to source that what went wrong in Afghanistan and why now they are insisting on Pakistan to do their bidding. So if we could not do their bidding while they were in Afghanistan, I don't think that we will be doing their bidding when they are out of Afghanistan. So I think times of
right. Bestap, do you agree with the Rani Sahib when he says, if we can't, we couldn't do it then, how can we do it now? But in terms of leverage also, how much leverage do you think America thinks we have at this time? With Afghanistan, with the region, of course, we are one of the main players. They need us. There's no doubt about that. But in terms of, doing, acting at their behest, how far do you think we will extend ourselves? Because we are also, a different kind of country than we were. Wouldn't you agree maybe 10 years ago?
Well, Mahrukh, you see, the irony of the situation is that in the last few decades, the relationship between the United States and Pakistan has been such that the United States has been made to, behave like a child, always demanding Pakistan to do more, right? Although Pakistan was doing its best, but the United States always believed that Pakistan probably has more capacity or more, higher capability to deliver in Afghanistan
and they still believe that.
than what we were telling them. And if you would just recall the recent senatorial hearing in the United States, in Washington, I mean, the members made it very clear, and that reflected their mindset that they think that we are responsible or we are controlling Taliban. I mean, this is their perception about it. Whether true or not, that's a different issue. We don't have to always justify our, our leverage or our strengths to them. Whatever strengths we have, they know it. They know that at the moment, whether they like it or not, Pakistan is the only choice that they have in this region in order to interact with Afghanistan. Why? Because, insofar as their favorite child, India, is concerned, India is playing a negative role. Even now, as we speak, they have got active interaction with the Afghan opposition in Tajikistan and Uzbekistan. They are spending money, and I mean, it's not an intelligence or a secret report at the moment. I mean, it is quite public knowledge that what they are doing in these countries in support of the insurgents and sponsoring them and training them and all that. So they are trying to create instability in Afghanistan, which will, in a way, if it leads to instability in Afghanistan, it will disturb the situation overall in this region, and then China and will become, in a way, threatened in the sense that any level of instability in this region will go against all the regional players. So therefore, in my opinion, United States has no other option but to interact with Pakistan and to ask us to use our good offices with at least Taliban in Afghanistan. Secondly, insofar as their pressure tactics are concerned, yes, they have no other option, so they will do that. They will keep telling us, and I believe that whatever our capabilities vis-a-vis Taliban are, the United States will always blame us for doing, for not doing what they require us to do.
How important do you think human rights in Afghanistan are really to America?
I believe not at all. Human rights, and violation of human rights anywhere in the world is a problem for all humans everywhere in the world. But while being there for the last 2 decades, I think all types of human rights violations of Afghan people were being committed. Atrocities, war crimes have been committed either by the United States forces directly or through their agents in that region. So therefore, I don't think that they are morally justified to demand human rights. Their use of human rights terminology or demand is in fact
trying to derive a
weapon. Yes, and they're just trying to create pressure and diplomatic pressure as well as legal pressure and moral pressure. There are human rights
violations in other places. Kashmir,
of course, Kashmir is one of the prime examples, but they're keeping silent. They're rather supporting India in perpetrating those atrocities in Kashmir. But in Afghanistan, and I mean, So we should not be that concerned about it. Taliban, the present government in Afghanistan, I believe that they will be able to, if they are allowed to, they will probably be able to manage their affairs. But that's not our concern. We should not be responsible for what is happening in Afghanistan. Rather, Americans, the United States should take responsibility for whatever is happening in Afghanistan.
Instead of passing it on to us.
Yes, instead of blaming us and passing and shifting their responsibility. And they should continue their interaction or their support of Afghanistan, in the foreseeable future in order to make it stabilized.
Right. General Sahab, there is, generally speaking, as far as Afghanistan is concerned at this time, do you think that the scenario as far as human rights are concerned, as far as American interference is concerned, in the next, all of that, in the background of all of that, do you think there's going to be recognition of the government in Kabul, of the Afghan government coming forward from any of the countries, even regionally, even otherwise? How do you see that?
There are two group of countries very clearly, rather three I would say. The third, let us say they are neutral, they will wait, they can wait a lot. One group led by America and Western allies and India being with them, they will not recognize Afghanistan in any near future. They will keep on finding one pretext or the other. We don't want to talk much about the human rights and whatever is going on in the mainland India, in Assam and everywhere. They have not spoken a word about it. So I agree with both our panelists. They have no love lost as far as human rights are concerned. Because the other thing is that this situation in Afghanistan, why should they try to improve it? It is their own making. I mean, it is, and as Barrister Saab is saying that they should feel responsible, I think they will never feel responsible for that. They have modeled it that way. They have organized and planned it that way, the way it is happening. So the other group of countries, led by China, Russia, maybe Turkey, Iran to an extent, Pakistan, some Central Asian countries, they are the ones who are likely to recognize Afghanistan as the first group. It may take a month or two or whatever. They are, I think, waiting for the things to settle down a bit. Although they have already started helping Afghanistan without waiting for formal recognition. Although a lot of even today, a lot of things are going from Pakistan in a number of ways, and it's coming aid from China also, and maybe some other countries also. So America and West, they are not going to recognize for a very long time. Russia, China group, they will be recognizing it, but they are in no haste because otherwise the things are moving. But yes, in my opinion, recognition is important. In spite of the fact that you have embassied and all that, because only then the present Afghan government will be able to put their people in the embassies wherever the recognition goes, and then collective pressure can be put on others also as far as recognition is concerned, as far as releasing their funds and such like things are concerned. So those countries who are against the present regime, we know them very well. They would like them to fail. Whatever pretext they make, whatever they say, irrespective of that, they would like them to fail. And they will never accept that it has become exclusive, or it has become benign, or it has become good. The other group of countries, they need peace, they need economic activity. They've already started that, and they are the ones those who will recognize them as a first group. And the neutral countries will be in between. They will come after the second group, but before the first group. So let us hope and see.
Right, unfortunately that's all the time that I have. Thank you so much for being with us, Barrister Muhammad Ali Saif. Thank you for joining us. Secretary General Naeem Khalid Lodi, thank you for being with us. Asif Durrani Saab, thank you for joining us today. As far as Afghanistan is concerned, certainly at this time the US interaction with Pakistan of course seems to center on it, but of course other issues, our bilateral relationship, our history, all of those things need to be kept in perspective, and of course what they expect from Pakistan, how they perceive what they perceive our leverage to be, all of those things will determine in the next couple of months what the relationship, the course of the relationship that Pakistan and US relationship, thereby our bilateral relationship can take. Let's see what happens in the next couple of months. But of course, Pakistan primarily centers on keeping its own interest at hand, its own interest inside. Let's see what happens in the next couple of months. Thank you so much for joining us today on Perspective.